it's going to be even more fun.
I resent that.
I submit to you.
You're no kidding. You know how, but.
We're on. Okay, guys. We're going to talk about phone power today. Our favorite thing. Mary, when you get on the phone to do phone power, what's your goal? Get the appointment. Let's put that up on the board so we don't forget. Phone power equals. This is what we're after. What I'm going to do in the presentation on phone power is just go through a few little tips that have helped me and some things that I've pulled from other people's presentations on phone power. Also want to talk about what your attitude is. I mean, when you're on the phone, people see you. I mean, it's like you hear the commercial on the radio of the guy standing knee-deep in the snow, and you can just visualize where this guy's standing. It's the same thing on the phone. You've got one chance to make an impression, and you don't want to blow that. Also, a few tips that you might want to do before you actually make the phone call. One strategy that you can use in calling from top down, which seems to be probably the most effective way to approach a company. Also, I want to go through the phone power dialogue from the beginning to actually getting the appointment, and things you should always do when you make your calls, and things you should always stay away from. And then finally, we're going to end it up with a role-playing situation where we've got these 4 situations up here on the board. I want input as we go along, so this is not a let help me out type of deal. The main thing that I think that we need to think about in phone power is that there's power in the numbers. We know that if you make 20 phone calls and you get 4 appointments out of those 20 phone calls and half of those people are prospects, then out of those 2 prospects, one of them falls out for whatever reason, you're going to close 1. It's a simple equation. You make 20 phone calls and one of them actually takes you to the bank. How many calls you're going to have to make to satisfy you, that's really up to you. What's your level of satisfaction? How much money do you want to make? Secondly, when you're on the phone, you've got to say the right things. If you say the wrong thing first off and you take talking to, your chances of getting in the door are just whacked out. You don't have a chance. Also, don't think that you've ever developed a perfect way to do things. Keep learning from your mistakes and develop you a winning strategy. Stay away from your weaknesses, of course, and play off of your strengths. The next most important thing is to be persistent. If you call in to a company and they're not willing to see you, that doesn't mean that they may not want to see you 3 months from now. Things change in our industry. That's a given. We all know that. So if you tell a guy when you're on the phone, you never want to let him go without either an appointment or setting a time for you to call back to get an appointment. So if you tell him you're going to call him back in 3 months, go to your tickler file and say call back in February. Then when you call him back, you've automatically bought yourself some respect. Gain that persistence. Also maintain a good attitude, which is what I was talking about before. I found a little excerpt that you might be interested in seeing. I don't want to read the whole thing to you, but something that really grabbed my eyes, the part that's highlighted in the green. It would be impossible to estimate the number of jobs lost, promotions missed, sales not made, marriages ruined, Richard, all due to a poor attitude because people waited for others to change towards them instead of being wise enough to realize that they needed to change. So if you know that you're dealing consistently with people that are automatically going to put a barrier up, learn how to deal with that. Learn how to ease yourself over that barrier and put yourself on their side to where they feel comfortable in telling you, yes, I'll be glad to see you. I think you're worth my time. Let's talk about some things that might be smart to do before you make a call. There's some assumptions you can make. First of all, you have to assume that the person you're talking to is working for their company and is providing their company a service that the company is willing to pay them for. So let's assume that they are concerned about using the best products that are available for their company. Also, let's assume that they're open for making improvements in their payroll process. Because if we assume that they're not, we're shot before we even get on the phone with them. Also, let's assume that timely and accurate answers are real important, especially when we're calling on the clerk level. If we can't get into the decision maker and we have to drop down and work from bottom up, let's assume that those are real important things. Also, the person that you're talking to, whether they're a payroll clerk, a controller, or a vice president of finance, wants to feel important, and they also want to feel intelligent. So you don't want to burn any bridges and talk down to them, that type of thing. Before you make a call, look at the name of the company. I mean, Hartford Realty. You know that they're in the real estate business. There may be a good chance that they're leasing property. So know what type of business they're in. Also, think of some customers that come to mind that we're actually processing payroll for. So you can throw some names out and say, well, these people found it worth their time to see us. These are the reasons why. So you're not stumbling for names. Also, when you're calling at the vice president of finance level, I think you can smoke out all objections right away. Because if you talk to him, you grab his attention. First of all, you say to him, am I calling at a convenient time? Because most important to him is his time and how he allocates that throughout the day. And also, can you save him any money? So you've got to get his attention right off and let him know that you're concerned about what's important to him. Let's talk about a strategy that I think all of us have used and worked down. First of all, let's call high. The decision maker typically is a vice president of finance, or it's usually not the controller. Usually when we present to a controller, it's got to go to another level, so why not start at the top? Mr. Decision Maker, what process would you suggest that I follow in evaluating costs and the needs of your current payroll process? That is an open-ended question. It's not a closed-ended question. You're asking for his input. You're pumping his ego up. And then he can say, well, Steve, I really don't get involved with that, but maybe you might want to talk to Phil Welch, the controller. Okay, Mr. Decision Maker, thanks for your time. I appreciate that. You hang up, you call the controller. Mr. Controller, the decision maker asked me to call you to get an appointment for us to discuss the possibility of control data improving your current process. Are you available this Friday at 9? Book him. Even though the decision maker didn't say specifically to call him, he did say that he suggested that you start at this level. That automatically buys you some credibility with the controller, and you're more apt to get an appointment knowing that you know what the decision-making process is there. Then you go and you meet with the controller and you find out what's important to him, and he suggests that you meet with his functionary because he wants his functionary to stay happy. So you get back on the phone, you call the functionary, and you tell her, I've met with the two people above you, and we're interested in finding an easier way to process your payroll. We all understand how important your input is into making this evaluation. Make her feel important, or make him feel important. Are you available next Tuesday at 9? Book them. The first thing when you get on the phone that you have to gain is the trust of whoever you're talking to, whether it's at the bottom or at the top. This is just telling you some of the things that I'm getting ready to go through to discuss. The types of phone power, whether it's a cold call or what I call a Siberia call, where you just don't know anything about the company, you don't know who the players are, and you're having to start from bottom up. Also, who's on the other end of the phone. I'll carry you through a phone power script. The people that we typically have to deal with, ADP, in-house, and paychecks, common objections that we often see, and then we'll go into the Siberia call and a few tips at the end. Richard, I've got your propriety. can you give me an example of when you've called somebody and automatically they've thrown up a wall because it's like, what are you doing calling about my company? You have no right to call me. Can you?
I get the typical salesman approach. I think one of the best examples is one we just closed. I know that Steve and I were working together on Rio Bravo.
Mm-hmm.
And we took turns deciding who was going to call. I caught the caller one month, and Steve would call the next. And finally, I think you just ducked your head and kept her on the phone one day and kept on and on. She was like, no, I'm busy. I can't do it right now. And we didn't even think they were a good prospect at all. Well, it turned out that they were because we had posted the business last week. But you just kept going and got the appointment and we closed it down. But her time when she was real busy. So.
True. So we have to do something then to get them to us. The propriety thing. How can you deal with that, Bob? How can you deal with a company that says, Bob, I don't want to tell you anything about my payroll?
Well, obviously you earn the right to speak to these people. So you might want to give them some sort of a reason for them to listen to you. You work with other companies in this industry. You're maybe a member of the same association he's a part of, or you have both some common interests to establish. You may or may not solve that the first time you call him. Your propriety may be built the second time you call this person. The first time you didn't succeed. Those are probably the three biggest areas in which you probably can gain that trust factor, if you will.
Mm-hmm. Another way that's listed next is the commonality. Hello, Sandra Ledford. This is Steve Hicks. I met you I saw you on the list of the American Payroll Association. I see that you're a member. I'm a member too. Haven't been in a while. Establish some common ground. Also, if you don't know your product or you don't have a bullet point up front on that first call where you can establish your competency of your product, and don't have time for you. See ya. Another way that you can gain trust is to say, my intent is not to sell you something that you don't need. Instead, my intent is to uncover some things that may be in your payroll system that we may be able to streamline for you and take some of the burden off of your current tasks. Two types of phone power I've broken down into cold call and to a Siberia call. A cold call to me is when we get a phone power sheet back that has a company's name, a controller's name, a functionary's name, the basic information. We know and can decide which level that we're going to start on to call. In the Siberia call, that's where we say you ride down the road, you see a name of a company on a building, you don't know anything about them, you write their name down, you look their phone number up, and you have to start with the receptionist. We'll go through that and talk about that a little more in depth. I guess what we need to establish is when we get on the phone, who's on the other end? Do you have a screening secretary that does not want to give any information out, that may want to show her importance by deciding whether or not you're worthy of that information? Ways that you can deal with that in a Siberia call is to just tell me who your controller is. I have a package that I need to send him on payroll. Okay, that's simple enough. You're not going to call him and mention the receptionist's name. You can't get her in trouble. Another thing that we all have to deal with, I'm so busy I don't have time to see you. Mary, how would you deal with that objection?
Typically, I can understand that. Would next week be a better time to start?
Okay, good. Maybe we could get a little more specific.
He's got to eat breakfast and lunch. Maybe
That's true.
Try to offer him everybody a quick lunch.
Sure.
You got to eat.
That's true. Maybe, Mr. Prospect, maybe I could meet you, say, 10 minutes earlier than you normally go to lunch, drop off some literature, and just have a brief discussion about your payroll and what your needs may be. Anybody that tells you they don't have 10 minutes to spare for you to personally drop off literature, they're full of. Bob?
You talking about a very good
Mhm.
time. Something that might help you gain credibility and also appointment is a lot of times these people come in come by. When do you usually go home? Around 6, maybe 5:45 to 6 o'clock to give you 15 minutes to explain what we have for you. And then it'll help you make a decision whether or not this is something that's good for your company. And, you know, it may or may not work, but again, it goes back to that proprietary thing again. You may not get the appointment at that time, but you left a positive impression of Steve Hicks or Mary Davis, the control data, and that.
Another thing that I found is that when I'm sitting around the office in the afternoon, 5:30, 5:45, shooting the bull, wasting time, I've made some calls. I don't do it a lot. I don't do it as often as I should. But I can get into the decision makers late in the afternoon without having to deal with their secretaries. That's how I got into Addison Corporation. I mean, his secretary was gone. He got tired of listening to the phone ring. He picked it up and basically just, you know, said, I know you're busy. That's why you're here at 6 o'clock at night. I understand that, and that's why I'm making phone calls this late. May I have 10 minutes of your time? So on and so forth. I've never had anybody tell me they hate a salesperson. Have y'all? I mean,
Yeah.
have you? I hate salespeople.
Yeah, I have.
I don't know. I can't help you with that. When people say they don't want to see you, though, that's basically what they're saying. Well, we're with ADP, and we're very, very happy. That's what they're saying is, don't sell me anything. I don't know you. I don't know that you have my best interests at heart. What are some ways we can do that? Donna, you have any ideas?
Help from the club. That is,
As often? Richard?
Like Bob mentioned earlier, I just wanted to talk to you about something. There's some differences between the two products. Really not out here trying to come out and get a sale on the first time I meet with you, but there are some differences between what we can offer and what you're getting right now. And what I want to do is just show you some improvements that you might be able to make in the present way of processing payroll.
Tom?
Again, you're picking your audience too, so if it's a CFO or with ADP and we're real happy, I can appreciate that, and I understand that. You know, as a matter of fact, most of our customers come from ADP, and it's not because they're unhappy, but it's because of some specific product, and you gotta be able to tell them right then what makes you different, and then, like you said, when can I come see you? Well, I don't have time, I only got 10, you know, if I stay longer than 10 minutes, it's because you have to stay, something like that, but you gotta be able to come up with something and then close.
Thanks. A lot of times we find out that they have some real problems later on into the sales cycle, but you remember back when you first made that phone power appointment, they're, well, okay, come on out for 15 minutes, something like that. So a lot of times we don't get information on the front end, and I guess what a good message from that might be is that let's get as little information as possible. A lot of times I've cut my throat by staying on the phone too long. Once they agree to see you, get off the phone. Don't belabor it. I mean, I've stuck my foot in my mouth a bunch of times. Yeah.
Can I add a qualifier onto that?
Sure.
That's true to a point, but at the same time, how many times we went on a call to find out that we thought they were a 500-man company, really found out they're a 15-man company. We found out that they never have any desire to move with us. So you might want to temper that with having some questions that you always want to be more prepared for the meeting for. So you're not going out there and saying, hey, Dan, come on a call with me, or hey, Bob, come on a call with me, to find out that the guy has a 700-man payroll, but he's only ever going to consider a 30-man executive payroll. So things of that nature. So you might want to be careful, because you're in here to make money for yourself at the same time, so you might want to do some minor qualifications up front and make sure it's worth your time and effort too. But I agree with Steve, don't try to get too much into feature functions without looking at somebody face to face and you talk to somebody in the field.
That's true. And I'll just jump on down into the benefit statement. When you mention your benefit statement on the phone to the person you're talking to, and you can hear his tone of voice change and see him sit up in his desk, you know, at his desk a little bit, then you know that you've got some ammunition and you've bought yourself maybe another 2 or 3 questions. But you really have to listen to the person's tone of voice as to when it's time to get off the phone. Bob, why don't you go through a typical situation from your opening statement to asking him for an appointment?
Probably what I would do is, hello Steve, how you doing today?
Fine, Bob.
I'm Bob Kudlow with Control Data, and the reason I called you today was basically to real quickly
Why do we need to get together?
Well, many companies today are exploring different things and increasing efficiency in their payroll and personnel area, and they've chosen control data. What I could do is spend 15 minutes with you explaining why companies thought there would be an effective alternative to what they currently process. Along those lines.
Good. So his opening statement, he mentioned the company. Hello, I'm with Control Data. I'm Bob Kudla. So the person knows right away who he's with. Grab his attention. We are a national competitor of your current vendor. We've been in business a little over 50 years. And I just noticed that we have an empty file on y'all, and no one has talked to you in the past 4 years. Then mentioned some benefit statements. Well, we've come out with an automated PC product that is unmatched in the industry, and on down the line. Then ask him for an appointment, just like Bob did.
One more thing, and I don't think I was real good with that statement, because since Steve put me on the spot. But you probably want to just give somebody a reason to buy as soon as you get them on the line. You know, so you might want to hear your benefit statement for, you know, whatever it is that you want to give right away. If you want to listen, but a lot of companies come to Control Data to save money or to increase service. What area would you improve on? And have him give you a choice instead of, well, I don't care about either one of those.
Mm-hmm.
So you might want to you want to keep him from giving you a no answer at the same time. You want to have him give you some sort of dialogue to open up the call, so it doesn't turn into a 30-second hit. It turns into maybe a dialogue between two people trying to find a need that might be unmet. And one thing I always follow up with is you're in a no-lose situation. Like I talked about this last week. Just give me 10 or 15 minutes, or even a little bit longer. You might cut yourself too short and say, you give me about 20 minutes of your time, you're kind of in a no-lose situation, because what I have to show you is going to tell you one or two things. It's going to say, hey, there might be something out there that might be a little bit better for my business, or you may find out what you have is working quite nicely, and there's an alternative out there. When you agree to good business practices to know your alternative, and you know, unless somebody's happy, they'll probably consider it.
What Bob said, wouldn't it be a good business practice? You kind of put them, you back them into a corner gently. You don't want to force them into a situation that they can't get out of. But I know you're concerned with the profitability of your company. I know you're concerned with the efficiency of your payroll process. If there was a better alternative, I'm sure that you would be open to looking at that. That's why I want 15 minutes. Different ways you can handle some objections. Well, Steve, we're happy with ADP. We've been with them for 10 years, and we're just real happy. What are some ways we can deal with that? One way I deal with is say, that's great. I'm glad you're happy. I'm glad your people are being paid on time. That's the purpose of a payroll service. However, 9 out of 10 of all of our customers do come from ADP, and it's not necessarily because they're unhappy. It's because they were open to spending 15 minutes on the front end to just evaluating what else was out there. It's like looking at Ford and GM if you're looking for an American car. I mean, products are going to be similar, prices are going to be similar, yet there are going to be some real distinct differences for the user. So let's look at both alternatives. You can use the same approach really with paychecks. I mean, you can say you've got a 100-man company, you call them up and the payroll clerk says, I'm real happy, their product is real easy, I just don't see any benefit in making a change. Something to the effect of, yeah, I'm glad to see that ease of use is real important to you. That's something that we like to stress to our customers. Some other reasons why you might want to see us. You can use 3 out of 5 of our companies do come from paychecks or whatever. In-house, Debbie, help me. What are some of your responses that you come up with?
Each company to maintain software, the service agreement that they have for maintain software sometimes can pay for the payroll of the maintenance software. MSA
Mhm.
Not only that, as many companies as they grow also have to increase their hardware memory space to accommodate. And then you go into reasons about how simple it is for the personnel side and how that is, how they use it. How many programmers do they have? I mean, there's hundreds of questions to answer in-house system. And I put together a whole in-house practice.
So I assume you probably tell stories. Stories help you out a lot in this situation. Well, Biolabs was in a similar situation. They evaluated the service and found that the direct cost savings were not really where they were saving money. It was the liability, and you tell a story. Okay. Common objections, send literature. How can we overcome that? Dear, Mr. Prospect, I understand, that you would want to look at some literature. However, I find it easier for me to just drop off the literature. That way you can associate a name and a face with the products that you're looking at. And it's no problem for me because I'm going to be down there next Wednesday at 10 o'clock. May I stop by and just drop them off for you? I have no interest in changing. Throw it back in his corner. Well, Mr. Controller, I understand that, I do know that in your job you're concerned about the profitability of your company and efficiencies. Throw it back in his court. Make him tell you that he is not concerned about that. I'm just happy. I don't want to look. That's great because SmithKline was very, very happy with ADP, and when on further evaluation they found that not only could they be happy, they could be elated or they could be extremely satisfied. And then really until you look at it, you don't know what else is out there.
A lot of companies find that when they're happy, they're under no pressure to change. What better time to evaluate or even take a look at it all?
That's true. Since you're happy, since you're not pressed for time, then we get together for 30 minutes. Siberia called. Dun da da. Avoid the receptionist. Yuck. Just get the least amount of information as possible. Who the controller is or who the vice president of finance is. Maybe how many employees they pay. Before you give your spiel to that person, make sure that you're talking to the person you want to be talking to. You may not want to start with the decision maker. Maybe you want to build some ammunition and go from bottom up. It's up to you. You decide how you want to deal with it. Also, never forget to ask for the appointment because that's why you're calling them.
Tom was a prime example of getting around the reception. Tom, in a nutshell, tell the one where you called and you wanted to speak with money marketing.
She wouldn't even give me the name, so I just called and said I want to buy something. They put me to somebody in sales, and I said, "How did I get you guys? I'm supposed to be over in the county's office. His name is that's Mr. So and So. Hold on, let me transfer."
Good.
Yeah.
You lie, but that's good. Do's and don'ts. Always and never. Never talk down to someone. Don't make them feel stupid. And you can do that with a tone of voice and not with something that you say. It's like, why wouldn't you want to see me? That isn't going to make them feel good. Don't be defensive.
What do you mean?
Don't be defensive. They shoot you down. We used control data back in 1982, and we had the worst damn problems. Well, look, that's not what you want to do. I understand. There were a lot of other people that were affected too, and thank God we've changed those things, and our business has grown at 35% over the past 2 years. That's a way you can get around that. Don't burn a bridge because, people change, controllers change on them. Those guys, it's like they're floating from company to company, so, yeah. And again, there's really no reason why you should hang up without an appointment or having them agree to, yeah, it's okay for you to call back in 3 months. Great, I will put it down on my books and I'll call you back in 3 months. Buy you some credibility. Never ask, how are things going? What are they going to say? They're going to say fine. What, if they weren't fine, wouldn't they be out looking for another payroll vendor? We probably would have already heard from them. Well, maybe not. Are you happy with your vendor? What does that buy you? Mary, if you ask that to someone, are you happy with your vendor? What does that buy you? That's right. What's another way you can ask, or you can get to that information.
You have to ask around it, I mean, you have, of course, finding out who their vendor is, ask them if they're familiar with us,
Sure.
and go at it that way, you're really not gonna find out that kind of information really until you're in front of them.
Mr. Prospect, I can tell, and by looking at your file, you haven't talked to anybody in the past 3 years, and things have really changed.
With a magic wand.
With a magic wand, exactly.
I'm sure you're happy with what you get, if you could change anything that you say.
What would it be?
You just have to have those answers. Gee, that's the kind of approach we took.
Any kind of question you ask, a closed question, a yes or no, it's not going to get you anywhere. Get them to talk. Usually when you come away from a confrontation with another individual, whether it's face-to-face or on the phone, the person that wins is the person that talks the least. So if you can ask him open questions and they spend more time talking to you on the phone, they're going to feel like they've accomplished something. I'm glad that guy called me. Always use the 4 Ps in your tone of voice. Be positive. If you call up and you sound like you just ran over your cat, you probably don't want to see me, not going to help you. Be personable. I mean, the person you're talking to on the other end washes his bodily parts every morning just like the rest of us. They drive to work in a car. They don't just automatically appear at work. They're people. So talk to them like they're another person. Use a tone of voice that's also professional and polite at the same time. Don't sound aloof. Sound like you really are sincere about what you want to see them about. And again, be selective with your words, and it's something that sometimes I get into a rut in phone power. I'll make 20 or 30 calls and not get an appointment, and I'll just have to sit down and write out a new spiel, a new introduction from the beginning to the end where I'm asking for an appointment, just so I'm not being too wordy. Make it easy for him to say yes to you. And there's ways that you can use your tone of voice real good at that. The way he talks to people makes it easy for someone to say, yeah, I'll do that for you. And remember, you're going to be seen through the phone. You're painting a picture of yourself. Okay. That's right.
What'd you,
Um.
Donnie, you want Friday off?
Sure.
All right, we've got a typical script from the opening all the way to asking for the appointment. Got 4 situations we want to cover. Did anybody get 1? You got 1? Okay, what we're going to do is we'll take a call with Tom. He's going to be in another office. And you know that the company's using ADP. They've got 500 employees, and you're calling from bottom up. You need to get some support from the clerk, okay? That's all you know. You just want to get the appointment, okay? You need to fix that. No.
Bob Kudla speaking.
Good morning, Bob. This is Mary Davis with Control Data. How are you doing today?
Just fine, Mary. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. Thanks for asking. The reason for my call today is in reference to your payroll, and I was told you were the person I would need to speak to.
That's right.
The reason I'm calling is payroll. Control Data is a processor of payrolls, and I was wondering if you could tell me how you're currently processing your payroll.
We use ADP right now.
Well, that's our main competitor in the business, and what I'd like to do is come out and spend about 15-20 minutes with you and talk a little bit about the differences between our systems.
We're pretty happy right now, but thanks for calling.
Well, I understand that you're happy, and that's great because, quite honestly, we've had most of our customers that have come from ADP that are happy, and the reasons they change are not because they're unhappy, but because there's significant differences between the systems.
What do you do payroll for?
We do payroll for National Data, National Linen, and several other large companies, and what I'd like to do is...
You're too big for us. We only have like 500 people.
Well, we do. Most of our companies are between 100 and 500 employees.
Well, can you save me any money?
We usually save around 10% on most of our customers.
About 10%? I don't know if that's going to be enough for me to make a change.
Would time savings be a factor?
That's possible.
What other type of things would make you want to change?
Well, I'd take a good hard look at it. If I can get some people out of my payroll department, that might be something to look at.
All right. Would next Tuesday at 9 o'clock be a good time for me to come out and talk with you, and maybe we can discuss some of those things?
next week's pretty tight. How about if I just give you a call?
Well, what about the following week, Wednesday at 8?
Okay, let's pencil that in.
Okay, I'll call you the day before and reconfirm.
Okay.
Steve and I aren't going to be here Thursday. We're out of town. Is that okay with you, please?
I don't think so.